Kesihatan mental memang salah satu bidang yang Kementerian Kesihatan setengah melihat bagaimana kita boleh pertingkatkan perkhidmatan kita kepada mereka. Dan sehingga 18 Mei 2020 kita terima contohnya 8,380 panggilan secara keseluruhannya. Dan
COVID-19 has resulted in a majority of us going through some level of stress. So what is stress? So stress, number one, is the most common mental health symptom that we've seen. The second being sleep disturbances. Stress is a situation or a reaction towards any change. COVID-19 has a lot of firsts. It was a first, in a way, a novel virus that had affected globally. As a result of that, the word pandemic has been used, which has not been used since 1929, since the Spanish flu virus, for example. It has also created a lot of other uncertainties when countries go under lockdown. So these uncertainties, these changes for some individuals might lead to stress. So what happens in stress is that you will start to have physical symptoms, mental symptoms, and also emotional symptoms as a result of it. We're looking at the stress performance curve, and what we see is that we need some stress in order to work productively. I mean, most of us here remember when we were taking exams, for example, and you had a deadline. And if the deadline was far, you won't have any stress at that point of time, your productivity would actually be quite little. But as it gets closer to the exams, then these individuals will start developing some level of stress. Your productivity will actually start to increase. Now, for some of us here who procrastinate quite a lot, and we're really at the end when the exam is about happening tomorrow, we will start to feel some level of distress. When you're in the productive stages, you're at the green stage over here. As you start becoming more distressed, you're going to be in the yellow stages over here. So you're starting to feel the impact of stress towards you at this point of time. Now, if you're unable to tackle and manage the stress, you're going to have started to have impairments where you're unable to function as a result, i.e. in the case of the student, unable to go for exams. So this individual is starting to have the consequences or the negative consequences of stress. Now, a survey that was done together with the Centre.my, which I was actually assisting, found that up to 35 to 50% of Malaysians reported high levels of negative emotions as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay? So I think what we want to say here is that individuals, most of us, during this COVID-19 were already dealing with some level of stress. And as I'll show with you later on, some of us were able to deal with it quite well because our coping mechanisms were better, and some of us were unable to cope as a result of COVID-19. And this is something that's happened across the globe, because there's another study that was done in the US which also found that a third of Americans during the early stages of this virus, around the first quarter, second quarter of the year, were also struggling with their. So what are some of the causes of stress? So there are a number of generic causes of stress, in terms of personal, friends and family, work, housing, that could lead to an increased level of stress. I'll just share with you a little bit of them. Looking at, for example, personal, if you suddenly become ill, that might be a cause of stress. Friends and family, marriages and divorces might be a cause of stress. Work, for example, issues at work, politics at work might cause stress as well. And of course, issues related to debt, for example, might also lead to stress.